everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Your Morning Drive. I am Logan. I am your host today, as always. Today we are live from the FireWorks studio in Marietta, Georgia. If you enjoy our show here, make sure you do me one solid, do me one favor, and send it to one friend who needs the show to start their day. One sibling, one coworker, one parent, your boss, your ex-girlfriend. Send it to at least one person to start their day. That's all I ask of you. If you want to do more than just market it, you can follow along on social media, Instagram and TikTok. That's when you'll find show updates, behind the scenes, announcements, clips, whatever. If you do want to send it to somebody, you can either send them to listen, a Apple link or a Spotify link. But if they want to watch, they can do that as well as on YouTube in full. I mentioned FireWorks. We are so excited to have FireWorks hosting us today. They are a creative co-working space focused on supporting our local community and uplifting entrepreneurs. If you want to try out FireWorks, you can by getting a free day pass with code DRIVE. You can get a free experiment. If you're working from home and you're sick of working from home and you're tired of, the same old, if you want to separate work and home, you can do so by trying out this day pass. You literally have nothing to lose. Just tell them that I sent you. Use code DRIVE when you book online. Whatever the case may be, if you come tour the space, let the staff know that you heard about it through Your Morning Drive, and they will take care of it from there. So again, code DRIVE, join this network, and you won't regret it. Another partner of the show, got a couple of them today, is brought to us can't speak. It's clearly haven't had too much coffee this morning. The show is also brought to us by Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready-to-drink format to meet the needs for quality pre-mixed cocktails for any occasion. They've got a nice lime and vodka flavor, a vodka cranberry flavor, and a lime and whiskey flavor. It's a little bit more intense. That's why it's called the heater. It's for those who can take it. But the summer is here. School might be starting back in session, but that does not mean the days are going to get any cooler anytime soon. The pools are still open. So grab a case of Good Days to hold you over for the afternoon. Good days are ahead. The summer is here, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So if you want to get some Good Days, but you're not sure where they're sold, you can go to their website, drinkgooddays.com/pages/find us. And you can find a store near you that are selling these great drinks. Of course, you must be 21 years of age or older to consume. The last partner of the show today is Strong Side. They are voted the #1 gym in Cherokee County for 4 consecutive years. Are you tired of being sick and tired? If you're ready to take control, lose some weight, and feel like you did 20 years ago, they've got you at Strong Side. Their group workout classes led by certified trainers create a fun and safe workout environment that has helped thousands lose thousands. Strong Side puts the community at the center of what they do. Everyone is welcome and everybody is treated equally. No matter if you're 20 pounds or 300 pounds, they treat you the same. You can grab a free 7-day pass on their website, which is www.the-strongside.com, and start your fitness journey today. Strong Side, we make people better. My guest today is another wonderful guest of the FireWorks Coworking Network. She spent 17 years as a college professor and then quit suddenly to start her own business. She's married, has a 9-year-old son, and lives in Marietta in the neighborhood, and is always planning the next house party. Please welcome my new friend, Laura Beth.
Hey, Logan. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for doing this so last minute.
I know, right? Like last minute in that, I filled out that form before I had coffee this morning.
Yes. I mean, sometimes you got to pivot, life happens.
That's right.
And, maybe shows a sign of maturity in me, but I feel like there was a time early on in my podcasting days that if a guest, even for an emergency, had to bail, it would have like totally set me off. Not necessarily made me angry, but I would have spiraled into, oh my God, what am I going to do? Just spiraling down that path. But it was kind of natural and almost meant to be, because we had said that before the episode anyway, we were going to meet and just introduce ourselves, I guess.
Right.
And so when I found out that my guest was going to have to cancel for an emergency, I was like, oh, I could just not go, I guess. But then I was like, oh, but I'm supposed to meet Laura Beth. And I was like, ooh, what if she was game to do this? And my wife was like, I don't know if she'd be game. It's literally last minute. I was like, I'm just going to try it. And here we are.
I'm up for anything pretty much all the time. That's sort of how I run my life.
A good friend told me yesterday, actually, she was like, never say no to something new or just a new opportunity or something like that. And I was like, that's good advice.
Yeah, you just never know. I sort of learned this lesson when I took an 8-week improv course through the Village Theater years ago. And I had a friend who had done improv and kept trying to get me to go. And I'm like, there's no way, I'd be terrible at this. And I just found myself at a point where I wanted to try something different. So signed up for this improv course, and it was not at all what I expected. I loved it. I mean, I had to quit taking the courses because I could have seen myself abandoning my life and doing improv full time. It was so much fun. But the whole thing about improv is you say yes to whatever the next person beside you brings you, and then you add to it. So the whole yes and, a lot of people know about that theory. And that's sort of my life philosophy. Just my life works if I just show up. And I'm an overthinker, chronic anxiety and stressed about a lot,
wow,
right?
You and I are both. Look at us.
Look at us go. But like, look what happened. Like, we didn't overthink this. We had something on the calendar, rolled with it, and look, now we're doing a podcast. So yes and to everything that you can.
What is this? I'm curious. What is this yes and theory? I don't know if I know this.
So if you do improv, I thought that improv was going to be a lot of acting, and I was going to have to make up and pretend to be successful.
Right, that's what came to mind when you said you took an improv class.
Yeah. No, it actually fails miserably. Improv does not work if you're trying to act. Improv works when you've got minimum of 2 people on stage. So that's one of the theories. You always have a person with you, and you're not supposed to let your partner fail. And if you do fail, you both fail big and roll with that too. Mm-hmm. So you say yes to whatever your partner brings on stage. So for example, if we were doing improv right now, and let's say that the scene was, it's your birthday and I need to come up with a birthday present for you. Then, I might say, look at this beautiful round package I've got for you. Aren't you excited?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for this package. I can't wait to use it for just everything.
Yeah, it is designed for everything, and it's got your favorite color on it too, which is green.
Yes, I love the color green. Green is, the color of the grass, the color of the trees, the color of The Grinch, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies. I love Christmas. Oh my goodness.
And you just keep going and going and going.
And just as long as you can.
As long as you can. And eventually something funny is going to happen. So what I started to do was bring in anything I could think of from my life. If I'm not supposed to act, I'm not supposed to pretend. Yeah. Let me just throw in scenes that have actually happened in my life and see what this new person does with this scene. And it was sort of magic. We had a fantastic group. We all just clicked. We got to know each other really well. And that made things even funnier because we knew how to play off of each other.
Absolutely.
So yeah, yes and theory. You just, the point is to not say no. And I can be negative. As optimistic and positive and happy as I am, it's sometimes easy to resist things that come my way or resist things on my path and say no to them. So you figure out a way to say yes and extend it and add to it.
There's this movie that came out years and years and years ago. It's called Yes Man with Jim Carrey. And he was the guy that, just no, can't make it. No, like just, no, I'm good. I don't need that promotion. Oh, no, I don't need to do this. And was just living this horrible, horrible life. And he goes to this seminar, and it's called the Yes Seminar, and it's making people yes men and yes women. And like any opportunity, you have to say yes, and you just see where life takes you. Mm-hmm. And it just, it's comedy. So of course there's funny things that happen. There's dramatic things that happen. But I saw that when I was like 10, I think. And I was like, man, that is such an interesting concept, because I feel like you said, like, it is easy to overthink and to let things get to you. And like, you could have easily been like, oh my God, last minute. I mean, what are we going to do? Like, I was just planning on going in and getting some work done. Now my work's going to get pushed back. I might have to work later today than I thought. And like, it's so easy. And I could have just said, oh my God, my guest bailed. I'm going to just stay home. I'm going to not be, when I'm doing this, I'm like the happiest at point of my day. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to hit that high today.
Right.
It's going to be a sad transition into the work week.
Right.
Like, just so much. And, you got to just learn to like roll with it.
Yeah, exactly. And really running my own business, I have to really adopt that philosophy too, because otherwise I will overthink and not get anything done ever. So the less I think, sometimes the better, which is counterintuitive because I was trained as an academic, and the whole thing is, think, live in your head, live the life of the mind. And that stopped working for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that you just, it's just funny how we all tackle it differently, but we're also the same at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's just so easy to overthink things.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a sign of, I think like seriously, like maybe 5 years ago, Logan would have been like, Laura Beth, we need to cancel. My guest bailed. Well, I can't do it. I'm sorry. And then it would take us maybe another 2 months to be able to meet.
Exactly.
Probably not, because me and you are the only ones here on Saturdays and Sundays, typically.
Right.
And I've always wondered that. I've always walked by your office and just been like, who is that? And like, there's always just been like a polite, like, hey, like a wave, not even words exchanged. Just, hey.
Yeah.
But every time I'm walking back here, I'm like, who is that woman? What is she doing?
Mystery woman.
For real. So I think I emailed or texted Courtney a while back and was like, yo, who is this woman? She's always here on the weekends. And she's like, that's probably Laura Beth. And she's like, you guys would click.
Yeah.
We should figure that out.
Yeah. And see, look what happened. Now we have a podcast.
I know, right? Now we're doing it.
Yeah. I've been at FireWorks, since last October. I started out in my dining room at my desk that I set up during COVID, whenever I had to pivot to working from home. And I just struggle working at home. I love to cook. I love to bake. I like to make sure my house is tidy and in order. And if I'm trying to work at home, I just don't. And my husband works at home too. He's in the basement, and inevitably he would come upstairs and want to just have a chat with me while I had just gotten started on something. And then we'd get annoyed with each other, and it was just causing tension and stress. And I'm like, you know what?
You're like, respectfully, can you go away?
Yes, absolutely. And we both were, bored and wanted connection with another person too. It's not like we don't like each other or don't love each other, but I've had so much success here. I actually have to credit FireWorks with all of my success, because I need space to think. I need space to be creative. And here's a community of creatives, and coffee is delicious here. And there's always snacks, and there's new people to meet. And it's just been wonderful. I don't know what I'd do without a co-working space.
I can attest to everything. My business is in such a newer phase than yours is, but I mean, I can relate. I mean, it seems like, and I don't know if it's just coincidental, just timing, whatever, but it seems like once I started here, things just kind of started going like this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I have to credit them.
Yeah.
And they sponsor the show, which is fantastic. But literally, what you said is a testament to it, about how you're working from home. You're tired of, sometimes I ad lib it and say, maybe you're tired of looking at your kids, or tired of having to talk to your spouse in the middle of the day. Yeah. And it's like, that is literally it. Like, you literally were like, I need to get out of here.
Yes.
Did you try other places first, or did you just, I mean, you live
so close.
Close to here?
Yeah, I'm like 15 minutes away.
Okay,
and there's really, there's not many other co-working spaces in Marietta, which is really surprising to me. I know so many people who work from home around here. There's others in Atlanta, obviously. Sure. And I have a client right now that has a different co-working space, and it's just a different vibe. They all fill different needs and markets. And I just really prefer it feels like a community here. It feels like you have friends here. I tell people all the time, any co-working space is great, because it's like you get colleagues that you don't actually have to work with.
Correct.
So you get the best of all worlds. Like, these are people who you can bounce ideas off of and talk with, but you, at the end of the day, don't have the work drama that you tended to have with other people that you work with. So yeah, they didn't pay me to say this either. I don't know how we got on a tangent about FireWorks. I just love it here.
No, I mean, I put it down as a bullet point, because like, it's, I've had the pleasure of interviewing, I think, how many other I think you're the second FireWorks person. The first one I did was Cash Thompson.
Oh, I love Cash. Yeah,
and she's
fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, the funny thing about this is, and you'll see this afterwards. I mean, after every interview I do, I'll send you another survey that's got, how'd you do?
Yeah.
Did you like it? What didn't you like? What would you change? And then I always put a thing on there for, if you know 2 or 3 people that would be a good fit to sit down and chat with me, like we are, list their names and how I can contact them or whatever. And I found out that Cash Thompson has a ton of mutual friends, and I had no idea. One of my best buddies for years they started at the same gym together, and now they're both creative entrepreneurs.
That's crazy.
And I was like, what? Freaking small world.
I know, right? I feel like gyms are like a hub and connect people together. I used to work out at a gym before COVID, and then made the switch to my Peloton. And I've been a triathlete for years, and I'm a runner and swimmer, and the bike is the hard part. So I ride at home a lot. But even Peloton has a community. It's crazy. It's hard to maintain that level of commitment to an athletic endeavor if you don't have some support. And even the people in my Peloton community, I'm friends with in real life, and we can talk about
that's awesome.
The instructors and the rides that we're doing, and it's a lot of fun.
I also have a Peloton.
Oh, okay.
And,
all right.
I'll have to add you.
Yes, please do. Please do. Who's your favorite?
Oh God.
Who do you like?
Laura Beth, I'm not going to lie to you. It has been a long time since I've got on that bike.
All right. We're going to get you back on the Peloton.
I need to.
I'm with you.
Because honestly, I used to say, I need to work out with somebody. I can't work out by myself.
Yeah, right.
And I said, oh, my wife will be that person.
Yeah.
But now when I work out with her, she's telling me to go to the gym. I almost think of it as like, I don't want to say nagging. That's a strong word, but it's like annoying.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, whatever. Like,
right.
I don't have to work out.
Right.
But like if somebody else, someone that I don't live with,
you need an accountability partner.
I need someone to keep me accountable. Like, did you get on the bike today? And I'm like, nah. And you're just like, shame. Or like, you can be mean to me. It's okay. You'll be like,
oh, it's hard to be mean, but
you can be like, stop being lazy and get on that bike.
I'm a good accountability partner. So if you need that, in fact, before the days of Peloton, one of my very best friends who lives in DC and also did triathlons with me, we realized we wanted to add some strength training into our repertoire. So this is like 2012. I mean, we barely had FaceTime back then, and we developed a FaceTime boot camp. And at 6:30 a.m., 3 days a week, we would get up and I would plan a little circuit workout for us that we didn't really need weights or equipment. It was all just body weight strength training. And we did that 3 times a week. Man, we were buff.
Really?
And
that's impressive.
Yeah, it was great. We're both morning people. We were both up. We did it before breakfast, basically, and before our day started. And we didn't even really talk that much. I mean, she's the level of best friend that like we can be in the room together and be quiet and it's fine.
Yeah.
But we'd still catch up a little bit. So it was nice. It was great. But having that accountability partner really is the only way I'll ever do sit-ups or push-ups or arms I have a hard time doing the strength workout. So that we'll get you on a good path. We'll talk after this.
I love that. Because I need it because I need to get there. I need to get back into the swing of doing it.
Yeah, we'll get you going.
I won't lie. So when we bought the Peloton, we also bought it over COVID, I think, like millions of other people. That's why you see so many Pelotons on Facebook Marketplace now, because people bought them during COVID and now they're like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
But I rode the hell out of it.
Cool.
God, like when we first got it, like every day, like I was obsessed with it.
Awesome.
But I think I rode it like twice a day some days. Like I was so obsessed. But I think because I did that, I like burnt myself out real fast.
Yeah.
And so after that first month, 2 months of having it, I was like, I don't even want to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't go all in, you have to kind of have a plan. And I do a lot of cross training. I don't just do Peloton. I love to run. I would love a Peloton treadmill. They're just very expensive and
absolutely.
I like my outside time. So I run outside and I swim outside, like I said, and I do yoga. I've been a huge fan of the Peloton yoga. I try to do yoga, 2 to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that if I'm doing it by myself, I'm going to spend 10 minutes and bail. But if I have a 30-minute workout ahead of me, I can stick with it and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My wife's been getting into it. I tried to get back into it a couple months ago when they introduced like being able to watch Netflix on it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like,
yeah.
okay, because what my wife did is, every girl on the planet watches that Bridgerton show. She said, I'm only going to watch Bridgerton on the Peloton. And that's going to be my motivation is I'm going to want to see what happens in the show.
Nice.
And it worked for her.
Yeah.
I tried it, watched the first episode of this show, and I rode, and it was great. But then I was like, I'm going to keep watching it on the couch.
I have a friend that will do the lane break rides and
love those.
And listen to podcasts.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, and that works for him. I like to zone out. I like the music. I like the vibe. I used to do in-person spin classes a lot. And I used to make playlists for our spin classes. Like I got really close with an instructor and we used to make playlists together. So I like that part of it. What's interesting to me, I do a lot of the rides that are in German. I don't speak German. I don't know what they're saying. I don't really care. Really. The German instructors are phenomenal. I can't explain this. I think I'm weird. But I love the rides in German. Sometimes there's subtitles. And so the subtitles help me kind of get a glimpse into what their personalities are like. And all the German instructors do a few English rides.
Yeah.
So I've been able to do some of those too. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to do a ride in German and just feed off that energy. And there's
it's just more intense.
I think the German instructors are so intense. I don't know what it is about Charlotte Wiedenbach. Oh my gosh. She does these metal rides and like screams at me in German. And like, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever you need me to do, Charlotte, like quit killing me. It's a good anger release. If I wake up one day and I'm angry, I can get on a German metal ride and like, it's all gone. I'm better. So yeah. I think I'm weird for that too.
The first one that comes to mind, I had to Google them, the Peloton instructors, because I was like, oh man, it's been so. Yep, Charlene Wittenbach.
Yeah,
there she is.
Yeah. She's a medical doctor. She just got her medical doctorate. Yeah, she is a beast. I think I love Charlotte because she is. She's not a waif. She's in shape. She is fit. She is built. She is muscle. A lot of the female instructors on Peloton, show their abs and like wear barely anything. Great. Good for you. Do you? That's fantastic. But like, I am never going to look like that. And as somebody who grew up with body image issues and struggled with how I looked and how I showed up in the world, to see someone who's fit and clearly a badass and a beast who doesn't have a 6-pack, like that's motivational to me. It's like, I can't keep up with you.
Yeah.
And you're clearly incredibly fit. You just don't fit that definition we have in our culture of what you're supposed to look like when you're fit. And I think that's one of the reasons the German instructors are so refreshing. They're clearly in shape and look phenomenal, but they look so different than a lot of the American instructors.
I think that's maybe some of the reason why I struggle too, is because I see the end product.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, I am far from that. And I think I begin to, again, the anxiety and the overthinking, I begin to think about like, well, it's going to take me 5 years.
I'm never going to look like that.
I'm never going to look like that.
Right.
And I'm one of those guys that I'm a doer. So like if I get an idea, like when Courtney was like, hey, I'm going to introduce you to Laura. And I was like, when?
Yeah.
When's it going to happen?
Let's do it.
Are you going to send it today?
Yeah.
Like when?
Yeah.
So like whenever I get the idea or an urge, like it's happening.
Yeah.
So if I'm like, yeah, let's get into the gym, let's work out. And within 2 weeks, if I don't see anything, I'm like, no, this isn't working.
It's demotivational, right?
Yeah, it's so demotivational.
Right, exactly.
It kills me.
I think a lot of people struggle to stay in shape because of that reason, because we're so tied to an outcome and what we think we're supposed to look like if we do X, Y, and Z. And there's so many factors that go into a person's overall health. There's genetics, there's diet, there's stress levels, there's whatever you happen to be holding on to that just hasn't left you yet. So yeah, I hate that about gym culture and about people who get so worked up in what you think you're supposed to look like. And I'm guilty of it too. But I think that's one of the reasons the German instructors are so great. But yeah, no, just it's hard to ignore those messages too, right? It's easy to just say, oh, I can just pretend I don't care.
Yeah.
Dennis Morton's built like a beast and like, I'm going to look like this in 5 years. No, don't worry about it. If you're able to look the same, but you've got more energy for your kids, or you are able to go on longer walks, or you can survive Disney World.
Right. Without whipping out my inhaler.
Yeah, exactly. That means you've done something. That's huge. It's not about how much you weigh or what you look like. And it's very hard for us in American culture to let go of those ideas.
That's really good. That's really well said. I mean, whether you are working out consistently and you're say you're still 300 pounds, but you feel great.
Exactly.
That is what's important. You don't necessarily need to look great.
Exactly.
But as long as you feel okay.
Exactly.
Then like we were talking about this last night, Jelly Roll, the country artist. He is easily 400 pounds. I mean, he's a big ass mother effer. But he's so positive, at least in all the things you see from him. He's always so positive and uplifting and uplifts for so many people and so many different things. I'm like, I bet he's happy. I bet he is 350 pounds, but I bet he's happy. And that's all that matters. He doesn't have to be a twig. And he's finding success, and good for him.
Good for him, right?
Which is so funny because he grew up in the same town as my wife, and my wife's sister was friends with him.
What? Where? What?
In Nashville.
Oh, okay.
A little outside of Nashville is a small town outside of Nashville. Called Antioch, Tennessee.
I know what you're talking about.
And that's where my wife is from, and her sister went to Antioch High School, and so did Jelly Roll, and they were just like the same age. They weren't like besties, but they're friends.
That's awesome.
They would hang out here and there.
That's awesome.
So I'm just like, Jelly Roll. Come do my podcast, Jelly Roll.
He might dream big, you know?
I mean, I'm already trying it with the Chris Pratt thing. I don't know if you've done this. I don't know if I followed you on Instagram yet, but on my Instagram, I've tagged Chris Pratt every day for the last, as of today, 92 days.
Oh my gosh.
To see if he does it. And funny enough, like, it's kind of like the thing we said earlier about like never say no to like anything, even if it's far-fetched. Right. You should tag Chris Pratt every single day until he does your podcast. Okay, sounds good.
Sure, that's a thing now,
and
right?
In doing that, I've like been able to like get in touch with like his agents and stuff. Like, so if I would have never even tried, nobody would have noticed. And it all goes back to, again, another point we've made already is you never know who knows who.
Exactly.
And it's like, hey, this person is buddies with a guy who used to work in journalism, so he has connections to the agency that Chris Pratt is managed under. Bada, bada, boom.
Exactly.
And of course, I've sent emails to these people, and they haven't responded because I don't expect them to. But it's the like, what if?
What if, right? And you never know until you try. You really don't. I mean, whenever I left my teaching career, it was terrifying. I had absolutely no experience running a business at all. I just sort of one day reached a point, and I had previously loved teaching. I loved being a professor. It was so much fun for a long time. And I always had in the back of my mind, it sure would be fun to own a business, to run my own company someday. Didn't think I had the ability to do it, and reached a point with that career where I thought, I've got to do something different. And a good friend of mine came into my office, and she had been a friend of mine at Auburn in grad school, and we had always taught together. We just kept hiring each other back at different places where we taught. And her name's Meredith. And so I'm like, Meredith, do you remember being in Auburn? And we thought for a minute we could just do consulting, and that was going to be our path. She's like, yeah, girl. I'm like, you think we could still do that? She's like, of course we could 100% do that. We are teaching such relevant concepts. My field is communication. So I talked a lot about public speaking and relationship building and team building and group dynamics and all kinds of stuff that our students were going out and applying in the workplace. We could do this. And so I go home, and I had about 20 minutes before I had to get my son off the bus. And I typed up a vision statement, a mission statement, and a list of workshops that I could do if I had to the next week. And it's like something in my heart just shifted. I don't know how else to put it. It sounds so woo-woo and so far-fetched.
No, it doesn't. I mean, you, like I just said about like, you're a doer. You got this idea.
Yes.
You got home. You're like, I'm just going to play around with it.
What happened? Yeah. What if I quit?
And so from that moment, you write up this vision statement, you write up these workshops. From that very moment, quite literally that moment, where do you go from there besides picking your kid up from the bus?
I wanted to quit my job that day. And like, I had tenure. Like, I can't emphasize enough how stressful it is to leave a guaranteed income and a stable position, and something that quite honestly was easy for me. It's being a faculty member. There are a lot of hard parts to it, but it sort of came naturally to me. I love teaching others. I love working with others. I love the relationship building component of it. Had phenomenal students, had super smart colleagues. And I couldn't explain it. I'm a rational person most of the time. And like, it doesn't make rational sense to quit the job that I've worked for years. I got a doctorate for this. Right? Like, how much time did I spend in school trying to get here? And I'm just going to turn my back on it. But I realized that once you know inside yourself what you're supposed to be doing and what decision is right for you, you can't ignore it. And the only thing holding me back was fear. And I sort of like imagined my fear was this huge wall between me and whatever else was on the other side once I launched a business. And I just got curious. I just wanted to know what was on the other side. And I thought this might be a terrible decision, but I'm going to go for it. I have to try it at least. And I did, and it worked out great. So I did not quit the next day. I talked to my husband, I talked to some really good friends, and thought about it for a minute, and then turned in my notice within 3 weeks.
Okay. So I was going to say, how long did it take for you to get from typing up the mission statement to handing in your resignation? 3 weeks or so? About a month?
About 3 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
And initially I thought Meredith, my friend that I was talking to about this, was going to start things with me. So I texted her screenshots that afternoon. I'm like, so like this, we could do this. She's like, of course, that sounds great. I need to retire first. I got a few years left. I'm not ready to quit teaching. I'm like, okay, great. Sounds good. We'll bide our time, but we've got a plan for the two of us. And I got back to my office the next day, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, I can't wait. I can't wait. I love Marietta. She's one of my dearest friends, but like, I can't wait on her. So like I call her. I'm like, I can't wait on you. She's like, okay, cool. Go for it. Hire me whenever I retire. I'm like, great. Good plan.
So has she retired?
No, not yet. She's still got a few more years.
So you will hire her then?
I would love to be at a point where I could hire all my friends. Would love to. She would be hire number one for me. Absolutely.
Really?
So that's the benefit of, being in a college environment. I've met so many wonderful instructors and faculty members who have so many awesome skill sets and are great in front of a class and an audience that can really do a lot of the same things that I'm doing. So I'm just spending time right now building my client base and building some workshops, and it's been phenomenal. Been so much fun. I haven't regretted leaving for a second.
And how, where did you teach at?
So I taught at Kennesaw State University. That was my last appointment. Before that, I was at Southern Polytechnic State University.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and it consolidated with Kennesaw State.
Yeah.
So that was a whole thing.
Were you one of the salty ones?
No, I am an optimist at heart. And I was sad. It was really sad.
Yeah.
I loved Southern Poly. I love nerds. My students were all nerds. And I say that lovingly. My husband's a nerd.
Well, of course.
Right? Like I'm a nerd.
I went to KSU, and most of my classes, because of my major, were on the Southern Poly Marietta campus.
You get it, right?
All the people on that campus. When you go to the Kennesaw State campus and then you went to the Marietta Kennesaw campus, the kids are it's like a different country.
It is. It's totally different. And I love that culture's still sort of there. I think the culture changed. But I mean, good example. So one of the public speaking classes I taught at Southern Poly, I got bored just teaching plain old public speaking, and went to my department chair with an idea, and he was like, yes, go for it. I designed a zombie apocalypse themed public speaking class. This is back when The Walking Dead was super popular and everybody was into zombies. And so I redesigned this whole section, and everybody showed up on the first day, and I'd have 25 students. 23 of them would be males. 23 would be engineering students, all of them terrified to speak in public. And I'm like, here's what we're doing this semester, guys. All of our speeches are going to center around a zombie apocalypse. And it was phenomenal.
Really?
My last speech assignment on the final exam day is always a special occasion speech. So a really short speech that can fit a number of different occasions. Either you toast something or give a eulogy or a farewell speech or something along those lines. Best man speech, maid of honor speech. Retirement speech. And so for those zombie apocalypse speeches, I said, what you're going to do is anything along those lines, but make it zombie. So I had somebody show up as the president to inspire everybody that we would survive in the face of adversity. I had a few people get together and give a group speech. They showed up with Nerf guns with their faces painted.
Oh my God, like they're the militia.
From the fields of battle, right?
Yeah.
To like report on what was happening. I mean, people went all out.
That's amazing.
Amazing and so much fun. And like that is such a unique experience that I think can only happen with certain groups of students. They really got into it and embraced it. And that whole yes and thing, they're like, okay, I don't know if I can do a public speaking class, but I can talk about zombies. So let's make it work.
Like I could really sell this. Like maybe I put my arm like in my sleeve and it make it look like maybe I lost an arm or something.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And no disrespect, of course, to the Southern Poly teachers always hated when you called it the main campus.
Right.
Because I took math with Shout out to, what was his first name? William Griffith?
Yeah, Bill Griffiths. Yeah, I know you're
yeah.
talking
He
about.
taught a numbers course. I forget what it was, but it was like it wasn't statistics, probability. It was like probability. Either way,
Yeah.
and he hated when you called it the main campus. Hated. He
There
was a
were-
great guy. Actually, I want to find him.
Yeah,
because
he'll be a guest.
Oh,
I'm
he
sure.
he would. Yeah, he'd be a great.
He'd be highly
Oh,
entertaining.
wow, I haven't thought about him in years.
Yeah. Just start going through your network of old faculty members.
Didn't he do like puppets or something?
Oh, what?
He did like puppet shows. Or something.
Wouldn't be surprised.
He's such a cool
there
dude.
were characters there.
Oh, but he hated when you called it I have a class on the main campus. He'd be like, don't call it the main campus. But no disrespect to the main campus, but the students on that main campus wouldn't have leaned into it like the ones at Southern Poly.
I don't think they would have. No, just a different population.
Correct.
So back to your question about was I salty? No, I was heartbroken. I was really sad.
Sure.
I loved a small environment. I love my students, but I'm very much of the theory that you should at least try to bloom where you're planted. That whole yes and thing. I didn't expect or anticipate this shift in my career, but it's happening. Let's see where this takes me. And I had some fantastic experiences at Kennesaw State.
Do you know, so how long were you at Kennesaw?
I was at Kennesaw from 2015 to 2022. So Southern Poly from 2012 to 2015. And then before Southern Poly, I was at Georgia Highlands College too.
Okay.
I had to give GHC a shout out.
Okay.
Loved that campus too.
Which campus were you at?
Like 4 of them.
Yeah.
I was in Cartersville. I was in Rome. I was in Marietta. I think I was in Paulding one semester. And really out of everywhere I've taught, the Georgia Highlands faculty were just phenomenal.
Really?
And never met a more caring group of
that's
faculty.
wonderful.
Yes, and smart and just fantastic humans, and loved everything about that environment. The only thing I didn't really love was that I taught one class over and over and over and over, and I needed to do more. So that's why I made the leap to Southern Poly.
Do you know Judy Craven?
No, I don't. Her name sounds familiar, but I don't think I know
She is my wife's aunt, and she is like, she does some kind of I want to say she does like leadership something within Kennesaw State.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Kennesaw is so huge. It was just hard to get to know people outside of my one little world.
She's the director of leadership development.
Okay. I don't know her.
At Kennesaw State. And so my guest today that was supposed to be here was the KSU women's golf coach.
Oh, nice.
So
cool. She'll have lots of good stories.
Oh, absolutely. So I mean, I'm starting to try to get more in with KSU just because I did go to KSU.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to work with KSU more. So
hopefully
they hear
interesting people and stories there too.
Yeah, I absolutely just wrote down. I gotta find Griffith.
Yeah.
It was either Griffin or Griffith.
Yeah.
But I gotta find him.
100%. 100%.
But so when you first quit teaching, what was before I do that, what was the most difficult part of being a professor?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the hardest part was seeing students struggle and not knowing how to necessarily help them. If I had a student, sometimes I was able to help, but a lot of times they had circumstances beyond my control. And I always felt horrible if I just didn't have the resources to provide to them or couldn't point them in the right direction, or if I could see that look, this is not working for you because you've got other things in your life that you need to focus on. And so that was one of the hardest parts, I think, about being a faculty member. But most of it was just a joy. I think the hardest part for me about the job in general was once I got into a leadership position. People had warned me about staying away from administration, and I worked my way up into administration. I don't listen to anybody. So I didn't listen when people were like, don't be the assistant chair, don't be school director. You can't tell me nothing. And I took on those roles, and then that's when things really started to tank and got really difficult. I was in leadership positions before and loved them, and felt like I wasn't able to really affect much positive change. And it was very frustrating for me. And I was just at a loss for how to move forward.
So when you finally quit, was it from that role?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you weren't like, were you still teaching classes at that point?
Yes. So
Okay.
I was the interim director of the School of Communication and Media.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it was, I think I had something like 50 faculty and staff I was supervising, like full and part-time. And we had 1,600 students and 4 majors and a grad program. And I still had all my regular responsibilities. I still taught, I still was expected to do research and do all this service. And it was, I'm no stranger to hard work. I don't mind hard work, but it was really, truly overwhelming to not be able to just focus on, one
or the other.
Can I focus on running the school and teaching? So I keep my connection to my students. Like that wasn't even possible. And that's not a Kennesaw State thing. That's just the way it is in that role, no matter where you are. It's just part of the deal. So it just so happens, since I was at such a big institution, it was overwhelming and I was burned out. And burnout is real. It happens in a number of career fields. And I know so many people who are there now too. I've done workshops before on how to get over burnout. What do you do when you realize you're burnt out? How do you move forward from it? Something we're just not taught to do, as adults. So you realize, like, you go home from work and you're like crying at the end of the day and you don't know why. And it's because of work. What are you supposed to do? You still need a job. You still have to do something.
Yeah.
So how do you move forward?
So when you left the job, did you have any clientele or anything lined up?
No. I got very fortunate and started having conversations with people to transition out. And one of those conversations was with an entity that I'd worked with in my capacity as a school director. And we were having this conversation about transitioning my role out. And they're like, hey, you know what? We actually might be able to hire you. So worked out great. I had a client just from that who needed some administrative work done. They're in the higher education space and needed some administrative work done. And they're like, what? Would you stay on as a consultant? We'll hire you. I'm like, yes. So I had a client lined up pretty quickly once I left. And then that led me to an additional client who was also starting their own consulting firm in the education and entertainment fields. And my background is all media studies and mass communication. And they're like, you might be able to help us out. Will you work with us? I'm like, yeah, sure. Great. So now I have 2 clients. And a former student reached out who was working at Yamaha and was like, hey, we've got a gap in our training program. You should come talk to us. I just got so fortunate. The big surprise to me was just how my network opened up, and people who I'd been working with for years or had in my network from years past were like, hey, we liked what you did as an instructor, or we liked working with you in this role. Let's see if we can find another way to work together. So I got very, very lucky and found clients pretty quickly.
That is really awesome. I mean, it's almost like I don't know if you're religious at all, but it's almost like a God moment of like the moment you quit your job and you take that big leap into assuming I'm sure you quit assuming like I might not have income for a few months. Maybe even 6 months. It just depends on how long it takes for me to get the foot off the, the ground. But as soon as you quit, it's like, boom, boom, boom. Exactly. It's almost like you said, like, when you got to FireWorks, boom, boom, boom. When I got to FireWorks, boom, boom, boom. Like things just start happening. Whether it's the universe doing it or if it's you doing it, and you're just reassuring yourself because you've taken these certain steps. But it just happens.
It feels like it just happens. And my whole life has sort of worked that way. Every time I've made a decision point and I've thought I wanted to go one direction, but something in either internally or just circumstances didn't work out, everything works out. I don't want to say everything works out for a reason. That's a little bit different. But I'm of the theory that if you're following your truth and you're doing the things in your life that you know are bringing you joy or bringing you happiness or opening up space in your life to do things that bring you joy, it will work out for you. You might not be able to see how, but eventually it'll work out. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not really a religious person, but very spiritual. And I think there's really something to be said about listening to your inner voice more than anything, more than any external message, more than any dogma or belief system. Listen to yourself. And we're not taught to do that either in this culture. We're taught to listen to all the external messages that are trying to sell us something or trying to fix our problems through buying a product or making us feel like we're not sufficient or we're not enough. All of us are totally enough. We just have to start listening to ourselves. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so funny that, like, I mean, I can relate completely because of having, I have this full-time job that I work that I do enjoy. And the moment that I start putting more eggs in this basket, things just start lining up.
Yeah,
and
right.
like, of course, like I said, I shouldn't book a co-working space. I don't really make much money from doing this, much at all. Why would I get a membership at a co-working space? Like, what benefit would that bring me? And then I'm interviewing their people. I've collaborated with some people. I've done business for some of these people. Like, it's just funny.
It's amazing how things just work out. You stay on your path and things work out, right? You show up. I think there's really something to be said for showing up for your life. But part of that too is it might feel like you're not putting in the work, but you are. I mean, you have to recognize too just how much effort you are putting towards something, and that's really where you're going to see rewards. I read a book recently. I've told everyone about this book.
Tell me.
It's called Unbound: A Woman's Guide to Power, and
Okay.
it was. You could read it too and benefit. I'm sure it's meant for women, but like there are lessons here for men too.
Sure.
So it's written by this woman who, hang with me, was a professional dominatrix, but also a Taoist nun.
Okay.
And so
I'm intrigued.
Right?
More than anything.
You should read it just for that. Like, she runs this school to help women figure out how to identify what they want and how to go for it. And how do you ask for what you want? How do you handle no's? How do you handle rejection? How do you figure out if this is really a closed door or if really this is just another invitation for you to figure out a way around this? And that book really helped me. I had to read it twice. I wasn't really prepared to read it the first time. There's all kinds of exercises and activities that you need to do along the way to figure out what is it that you want. Once you figure out what you want, it's like, how do you not pursue it? How do you not go for it? You can talk yourself out of it all day. That's the voice of fear, I think, trying to hold you back.
And you know what I've learned as slowly like dipping my toe into maybe one day soon, hopefully, taking the leap as well. And I used to be so insecure about like, and still struggling with it a little bit, but the more honestly, and ever since I got here, this fear has kind of dwindled away. I never wanted to like ask people for favors.
Yeah.
I never wanted to, because it felt like then I owed that person something.
Exactly.
But what they don't teach you in school, and this is something that I don't think can be taught, it's just learned behavior, is like your network, for example, like what you just said, like your network really helped you, just came to you and opened their arms to you as soon as you took the leap. And it's like, if I mentioned to one of my creative mentors, like, yeah, I'm trying to maybe do more with Kennesaw State. Oh, well, here's the KSU women's golf coach.
Exactly.
You should interview her. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you. What do I owe you for this? And he's like, nothing. I just like, and I've said this before on this podcast, but real growth is getting to the point where like, I just want to see all of the people in my network win. Like I want to see everybody win. Exactly. Everybody in my life, every person I've interviewed, I want to see everybody win. And it's like not taking advantage of your network, but kind of taking advantage of it. Like we're all so good at so many different things. And it's like, why, if you're like talking about writing a book, why wouldn't I put you in touch with my friend that owns her own publishing company?
Exactly.
Like, why wouldn't I get you in touch with my illustrator friend that's really good at art and wants to illustrate like a children's book? Why wouldn't I give you her contact information? Like, why would I need a kickback from that either? Like one of my buddies, I did an episode with a guy, this will actually be a really good transition because I do need to do this. I did an episode with a guy named Nick Smith, and he is the founder of the company I'm about to read an advertisement for. But so, and it's called StageDive, and I'll just read the advertisement because you need to hear it to know the story. So StageDive aims to put creators first, meaning your subscription. So first of all, I need to preface this before the ad. This is the first time I'm reading this ad. This is brand new. So StageDive is a music streaming platform, music and podcast streaming platform that's up and coming. And they founded this platform on the basis that, I don't know if you know this, but when you stream an artist on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, whatever, they earn like a tenth of a penny for each stream. It's nothing. And yeah, like people like Taylor Swift, Drake, these big names, they're going to get those streams and they're going to make tons and tons of money, but that's because they're at the top. Right. Well, what about the artists like you and me that are starting a show or starting up, my music career, and I'm performing in bars in Kennesaw and Cartersville, and I might make, $3 a year on Spotify. Well, StageDive prioritizes paying the artists for what they deserve. So I'll explain how it works. So StageDive puts creators first, meaning that your subscription will directly benefit the creators you love. StageDive does not play ads amongst their creators' content. Instead, they provide a subscription-based model that's just $4 a month, $3.99, where listeners can discover new music, comedy, commentary, podcasts for that fixed monthly fee. When creators attract a listener's attention, they earn a portion of that listener's $4. So for instance, if you listen to 80% Taylor Swift and 20% Drake, Taylor Swift is going to get 80% of your $3.99 and Drake's going to get 20% of it. And so it's going directly into their pockets.
That's awesome.
So for these smaller indie artists on this platform, if you're, if you're getting a bunch of listens on this platform, you could make, instead of $3 a year, you can make $3 a month, which is still little, but it's still better than what you were doing before on these major platforms.
Right.
So anyway, I know $3.99 is less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, maybe even less than half of a cup of coffee at Starbucks. But with code YMD25, you'll get 25% off your first month's subscription. So if you're really just trying to try it out, that means it'll be like $2.50 for your first month. And if you don't like it, you don't have to stay subscribed, but it's $2.50 to put money back into creators' pockets that otherwise might not make money off of it. That means you can just support, it's built into it. You can support your favorite artists for half of the cost of a cup of coffee. So check it out, stagedive.com. They're really cool people. And I say all that to say, I also know a guy who used to do a podcast very similar to this. He used to do this podcast, but now he does he puts on concerts for all of these artists that he used to interview, all these indie artists that might otherwise not get exposure. And when I did this interview with Nick, I was like, oh, I know a guy that you should work with because he puts on these concerts. And what if you worked with him to go to these concerts and maybe talk to these artists about being creators? And it doesn't cost to create and put stuff on this platform. I put my podcast on this platform. I just started uploading my episodes the other day, and I'm literally already seeing the benefit of people listening on it because
that's kind of amazing.
It is amazing.
Great idea.
It's super. And, it's very early. So there's, of course, bugs with every new product, every new service. But they're growing rapidly. And I connected these two and I said, you guys could help each other, I'm sure. Like you could refer artists to the platform. You could grow your platform by working with Mark to grow. And now I connected them and now they're going to work together.
Fantastic.
And he's going to sponsor him. He's going to sponsor him and they're going to cross promote. Yeah. And the other day, Nick texted me, he said, dude, thank you so much for hooking that up. And it was that piece of it that is he's like, oh, I owe you big time. And I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah,
I just like being the connector.
Exactly, right.
Like Courtney, hey.
Right. She's a hub. She knows everybody and is happy to connect you.
Hey, you two should talk.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's one of the things that came up in this book. I think the author's name is Kasia Urbanik, now that I'm thinking about it. She talks about this exact thing and says that whenever you ask someone to participate in your life in that way, you're really letting them be part of your success. And people genuinely want to do that for the most part. I have a theory. I wrote a blog post about this. Whales versus sharks. Some of the best advice I ever got in my life. This was first day of grad school for me. My first start in an academic career. Our grad advisor gets us all in a room and says, you guys can either be whales or sharks. There's two types of academics. The whales swim together and they help each other out and they are doing research on their own, but they see an article that might help you. So they send you that article and you do the same for them. You proofread each other's papers, you collaborate, you help each other out. That's the whales. The sharks are out to get each other. The sharks will see an article you could probably use and hide it from you and actively work against your success because they want to be the only ones that are successful. They're out for themselves, not for anybody else. So you guys have to decide, are you whales or sharks? And we're all looking at, we've never met. These people came
I guess we're whales.
We're whales. Okay. We're like, oh, let's do this together. So I was very fortunate that I wasn't with a group of sharks. But it's funny. There are sharks among us. You have to watch out for the sharks. But for the most part, I found that people like to be whales. People like to support others. It's just a better way to manage your life. And there's enough space for all of us, right? There's enough for we don't need to compete. Let's all do this together.
And I did an episode a few months ago with one of my career mentors, and he is one of the vice presidents at New Realm Brewing.
Oh, cool. I was just there last night.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Shout out to Jeff Chastner.
Hey, Jeff.
He's getting real involved with KSU athletics right now too. He's really, I think, well, I probably should say, I'll say something off the air, but they're going to start working together a lot.
Cool.
But either way, Jeff gave me some advice from one older, guy in his career to one younger guy. Yeah. And he said, everybody in their career, whether they know it or not, they have their own personal board of directors. You've got a board of directors of people that support you and are there for you. And when I sat back and as he's talking, I was like, wow. I was like, first of all, he's on my board of directors.
Yeah, right.
But then when I say that phrase board of directors, I guarantee in your head just now you thought of 5 people.
Oh, yeah.
Of that person's on my board. I bet your friend Marietta, she's on your
100%
board.
on the board. Yeah.
Your husband's probably on your board. I mean,
FaceTime boot camp girl is on my board, on your board, right?
I mean, so people helping people in just navigating through their professional lives is it's so great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a team effort,
and
right?
So many people have done it for me, hey, do a podcast with this person. And then that person ends up becoming a sponsor of the show.
Isn't that crazy?
And it's just so funny how things just develop.
Yeah,
naturally.
you just show up when you're on the right path. Things just sort of unfold for you, and it feels weird, right?
As a person, sorry to cut you off, but as a person who struggles a lot with, I have this passion, I have this dream, I've worked on it for years, and it's never gone anywhere, and it's finally starting to go somewhere, and it's do I leave my job?
Yeah,
what do I do?
Yeah.
Hearing you say that, when things are when you're on the right path, things start to unfold. Mm-hmm. So that was just motivation for me. So I thank you for that. That was amazing.
I'm happy to motivate. I'm here for motivational advice. So we're going to do motivational affirmations and Peloton after this.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your company.
Yeah,
so
sure.
We've talked about all these things. So you left and you started LBD Consulting.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So, it's called LBD because that's my nickname. Laura Beth Daws, LBD. It's my initials.
Little black dress.
Whenever I acquired the nickname, it was not a little black dress.
Really?
But now, yeah. A colleague the other day was like, my wife said we're getting ready. And she said she was wearing an LBD. And I was looking around the room going, where is she? She know where I live? What? So this company really tries to encompass everything that I did as a faculty member in teaching other people how to communicate better and how to improve relationships just on a larger scale. So I have been working with clients in the manufacturing space, like I mentioned, multinational corporation that has hired me to do training for entry-level employees. Awesome. And for their management track as well. I've developed unique programming for them. I do teacher training for a couple entities as well. So I've worked with instructors to develop their teaching skills. I've built curriculum plans and programs for various entities, especially in the film and media industry, which has been a lot of fun, a really good learning experience for me too. And I'm trying to do more workshops individually and hopefully conference presentations and keynote speaking as well as an area I hope to grow my business into. So
you started your career doing education. Mm-hmm. Did you ever see it getting to this point?
I hoped it would get to this point, but I never thought it was possible. Again, much like you, this was a dream of mine forever. My first job in high school was an administrative assistant for a motivational speaker, which is bizarre because I grew up in a really small town in North Alabama. I grew up in Athens, which is close to Huntsville.
Okay.
And the fact that we had a motivational speaker in Athens, I had no idea.
That is very impressive.
Right? I had no clue. I'd lived there my whole life. Felt like I knew everybody. Had never met. Her name's Gaitha Krausen. Had never met Gaitha. Didn't know she existed. And I'm like, well, if she can do this and she's getting to travel and go places and people are paying her to speak, I could do this someday. So she was really my first inspiration for a female entrepreneur. I didn't know any other entrepreneurs, especially didn't know any women entrepreneurs. And she was crushing it. She had her thing. She did great. People loved her and learned so much in that job and just sort of kept it in the back of my mind. I'm so thankful I had the career path that I did. It all led me here to this place. I have wonderful experiences now I can draw on for my corporate clients. But it was just a harebrained idea for the longest time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is, as we've talked about, like connecting people with this, connecting people with that, whenever I do these episodes now, I'm like listening to them talk and I'm like, I know exactly who I'm going to put you in contact
right,
with.
right.
Like I'm going to like send you an email after this and be like, contact this person.
Awesome.
You guys could work together.
Thank you. Awesome.
Like just, you know, and that's just the piece of it, is like people helping people.
People helping people. And you just really never know who you're going to meet and when. So like one of the craziest things I did this year, I think Courtney was telling you about this. I've been able to do things running my own business that I never, ever would have been able to do if I had stayed in a teaching career. Like I have an oddly flexible schedule now. I thought it was flexible as a faculty member. It really wasn't.
Like you literally have not even flexibility. You just have freedom.
You get to, I work as much as I want, which is working a lot right now, which is great.
Yeah.
But I also was realizing last year I was starting to get burned out again. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm working so much. I have all these clients. This is a great problem to have. This is what I wanted, but I need space. I realized I hadn't been by myself since like COVID, when I just hit a breaking point and like got an Airbnb by myself for a weekend. Was like, guys, I need out. I've been in this house with you guys, my husband and son, for like a whole year. Like I need a minute to myself. So kind of hit a breaking point and booked myself a vacation to St. Lucia. All by myself.
All by yourself.
All by myself. Somebody at Southern Poly forever ago told me about this resort called the Body Holiday, and it's like a wellness resort. They have a chalkboard with an hour by hour breakdown of activities you can do all day at this place. Wow. This is so on brand for me.
Yeah,
like these are my people. Like I need to go here. Organized fun. Sign me up for that. So I'd been like once a year at least. I'd go to this website and be like, no, I can't do. Oh, I can't do it this year. Can't do it this year. I just said, you know what? I'm doing it this year. I'm going to go by myself and sit on the beach and watch the sunset and think about my life. And couldn't have afforded not to do that trip in hindsight. It was so worth the investment, so worth the time just to give myself some space. And I just kept sitting there every day thinking, like, number one, this is paradise. Number two, how privileged and lucky am I? Number three, never would have done this if I hadn't taken the leap and started my own company. You just never know. And I took this like ferry ride back to the airport from the hotel, and there was a woman on there from Buckhead, and we had a lot in common, and like we became friends and connected on LinkedIn. So same thing. Like you just never know who you're going to meet and what kind of connections you're going to make. Just stay on your path. My path was leading me to St. Lucia. I did not.
The Body Holiday.
Yes, they didn't pay me either, but they can if they're listening. I'll be a brand ambassador for you.
That'd be amazing.
Right. So you really never know. Just stay on your path, whatever your heart is desiring. And I so needed that trip. I came back happier. I came back able to show up. It totally like shifted the direction of my life in a positive way. Yes. So what I'm telling you is if you want to take a vacation, take the vacation. Vacations are worth it too.
Wow. I love it.
Invest in yourself.
That's great. That's good advice.
Yep.
Man. So Laura Beth.
Yes.
There comes a point in all my interviews where I ask every guest the same 10 or so questions. Okay. They're all very first date questions. They're not very deep. Some of them could be deep. If we need to discuss them, we can. If not, we can just rapid through them.
Okay.
But we'll see what happens.
Okay.
What's your favorite movie?
I'm going to say The Never-Ending Story. I just went back and rewatched it recently. Forgot how impactful and impressive that movie is. We'll go with The Never-Ending Story.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was your first car?
Was a red Dodge Dakota pickup truck. I believe it was a 94 model year. Yeah, I grew up in Alabama. All I can say about that. But it was a very fast truck. Yeah. So that was my first car.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first ever, not even after college, but what was your first job ever?
It was working for the motivational speaker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, being a secretary for her. This is so old school. When I turned 16, the deal was my parents would buy a car for me, but I had to supply gas money and incidentals. Okay. So I turned 16 and start looking in the printed newspaper classified ads for what sort of jobs there were. And there was an ad that was looking for someone to work as a secretary. And she was close by, and I mailed her a resume. And I got a call, her message on my answering machine. I won't ever forget it.
Wow.
This is Gaither Krause, and I'm calling in response to your resume. Please give me a call. Like, okay, this is how it works. Great.
I'm sorry, you said newspaper?
Newspaper.
What's a newspaper?
Printed, like,
What's print
it's like,
mean?
imagine like, a website, but like printed with information.
That is
and there was
so
a
high tech.
whole section of like a whole page of classified ads. Like in Alabama, it was like, I got a tractor for sale. Who needs a 4-wheeler? It's in good condition.
I got an extra cow laying
yes,
around.
yeah. I'm about to auction these cows off. Anybody want it? And then like a section of like employment ads. Like, are you looking for a job? Here are some jobs.
Wow. I've never heard of that newspaper.
I
I'll
know,
have to do some research into that.
Yeah,
That's
check
really
it out.
cool.
It came to my house every day. I was a big newspaper reader.
It's like a website getting delivered to your house every day to see updates.
Every day.
Wow.
Yeah. And you should look up the small town papers. They were a special joy.
Wow.
Special joy.
Wow. What do you have any allergies?
No, thank goodness. I'm an equal opportunity eater.
I like that.
Don't turn down the foods. No allergy. I hope I never develop allergies. I have a very good friend who's allergic to like strawberries and raspberries and walnuts and pecans and
I'm allergic to those.
yeast. Oh yeah, it's hard. Yep. It's so hard.
Like, why do you think I love Good Days? Because they don't have any hops in them. And I'm allergic to hops, so I can't drink beer.
No beer. Well,
no beer.
The Good Days are perfect.
Good Days are perfect for me. Yeah. Rank these. Speaking of food, rank these 3. Favorite to least favorite. Queso, guac, and salsa.
So favorite to least favorite? Mm-hmm. Favorite's guac, then salsa, then queso. I make all 3. We're going to go with guacamole tops.
And before I even move on to these other ones, I completely forgot. You like a house party?
Yes. Yes.
Do you guys have house parties?
Hostess with the mostest over here. Yes. I entertain all the time.
Is it just like you love to entertain?
Yes. I love bringing my people together. And
I love that.
Yeah. I love cooking for people. I love facilitating conversations. I have a book club that I run. Then we have the best next door neighbors ever. And like, they come over all the time. And I've got all kinds of just segments of groups of friends that if I can find an excuse to get people to come over, I do it. I always make sure my cheese tray situation is on point. Okay. I love a charcuterie tray. Yes. I've been known to just throw things together last minute if people happen to be over for something, like people are dropping kids off for a reason. Like, hey, parents stay, we'll eat or whatever. Yeah. Yes, I'm always trying to plan the next party.
That's awesome.
I threw my husband a murder mystery birthday party this year.
How did that go?
Fantastic. We all dressed up in costume. People really leaned into it.
Was it like from the moment they walk in?
Yes. Okay. I emailed everybody a role and costume suggestions. I mean, and it was like a cruise ship murder theme. And so we had a bartender. I ended up being the one that was killed, and my best friend of like 25 years was the one that killed me off. There were lies and intrigue. My husband's best friend showed up as like captain of the ship with like a clipboard. His wife was a beauty pageant contestant. People went all out.
Oh, that's amazing. I
love doing things like that. Do it. It's so fun.
Oh my. Okay.
So fun.
Oh my goodness. I love that.
Always planning the next party.
And I love the party. I love that thought because whenever I had roommates and I was living with a few buddies, we would always throw parties. And whether they were parties or like game nights or whatever. And my wife was just like, why do you like to party? I was like, there's nothing more I love than to see everybody in my life in the same room. Yeah,
right.
It's kind of an ego thing.
I love it too. We're joiners. You like to bring people together. Yes. There's a term for that in communication. They're called the hubs. People who act as hubs are the ones who just are able to make all these connections for you. And so we're special people.
Yes, we are. Look at us go. Look at us go. Where do you consume music?
Like you mean where do I listen or my streaming platform of choice?
Streaming platform of choice.
I've been a big fan of Spotify lately. I know they're horrible to artists, and so I feel a lot of guilt over that. Okay. But as a child, we didn't have cable. I had like 4 stations growing up, and so I listened to music a lot. Always had the radio on. Big fan of 80s top 40 and know all kinds of 80s music trivia. And I was that kid that would like record. You might not know about what a cassette tape is either, but like we had these like stand up like musical playback devices, and you could put a tape in it and hit play and record at the same time, and it'd record what was on the radio. And that's how we made mixtapes and like showed our love to people.
Wow, far out.
Yes, I used to do that all the time. And then I got a CD player and could burn CDs, which is another whole thing.
Burning CDs.
I know, right? And hand those out.
Is that good for the environment?
It didn't cause any fires, I promise. But yeah, I've always, little me is like amazed that I can just call up any song I want at any time and listen to it. It blows my mind.
It is kind of, I mean, we take it for granted because it's just our reality right now. But the fact that we can get instant, and that maybe is part of the problem with a lot of workforces today. And you probably see this with doing trainings and stuff, is people want instant gratification for a lot of things. And music is one of them. And like, I'm guilty of, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not one of these people, but like if I'm driving and my GPS isn't loading, like I'm about to start throwing a fit.
I know,
like,
right?
What the heck
why are you not working?
Like, why are this, like, why is this not working? And it's like, sometimes I like, after I have my little rage moment, I sit back and I'm like, this is first world problems.
Yeah,
like,
right.
This is, it's like, I forget what comedian is. I think it's Louis C.K. He has this bit about people complaining about Wi-Fi speed on airplanes. And he's like, think about what you're complaining about right now. You are complaining that you can't stream your favorite Netflix show 40,000 feet in the air.
Right.
He's like, have you ever thought about how stupid we sound when we complain about things like this?
Exactly.
And it's like, wow, this is true.
So true. So very true.
I mean, like the fact that we could pull up any song
at
any time.
I know. And listen to it. Yeah. And my 9-year-old takes bass lessons, and he is adorable. He gets so into it. So like he thankfully is all into 90s era grunge right now, which is like music of my people, right? I love it. I'm so happy. And so, but he also will never have the experience I had of like listening to an album from song 1 to song 12 and like seeing it as a unit. So I'm trying really hard to play full length albums for him. Like when we're in the car together on long trips, like let's start with song 1 on the Blue album and listen all the way through. I think you'll have a different experience.
And, I respect that, because whenever I listen to a new album that comes out on the streaming platforms, I turn shuffle off and listen from one to
the way the artist intended.
Because half the time, sometimes the songs will continue into the next song, and like the lyrics will sometimes relate back to the last song.
Exactly.
And so I always tell people, they're like, oh, I didn't. I'm like, did you listen to it on shuffle or did you listen to it straight through? Because I always listen to it straight through. Yeah. Because you never know what you're missing. Because a lot of albums are a story.
Yeah, exactly. And we're missing that.
Correct.
If we don't have the opportunity.
So speaking of music, let's say that I gave you the opportunity to run a music festival.
Oh, yeah.
And you're in charge of booking the 3 main headliners. And these 3 headliners speak to you. We're not thinking about like what's going to sell the most tickets or what's the most popular bands out there right now. Like, what are your 3 headliners to your dream music festival?
Oh my gosh. What? How am I supposed to answer this one? This is so hard. Oh, I can only pick 3. No. Oh, I have so many questions. See, you can't ask a planner this question. Remember in the beginning when I said I overthink things?
Yeah, you're going to overthink this question.
I'm going to really overthink it.
Wow, out of all the things we've talked about, this is the one you're overthinking.
So one of my jobs that I had previously, whenever I was at Auburn, I spent a year as the advisor to the University Program Council. And they were the group that planned all the campus concerts and speaker events and comedians and big campus parties. And so this is like a legit, like my mind is going into like, okay, this is a big deal. And there's a lot of pressure riding on this too, on this question. So I think my big headliners for this event would be, I'm going to pick 2 North Alabama musicians and then 1 not. I would, would I or no, would I not? You've really thrown me on this one. This is really, really difficult. You're going to have to edit a lot of my rambling out to make me
no edits. The people need to know how much you struggle to answer this one question.
It is such a struggle with like a festival with like 3 headliners. Okay. One would be Chapel Roan.
Okay.
She's a newer artist. A lot of people have you heard of her?
I don't think so. I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about her.
Chappell Roan, the best way I can describe her is she is a gay Taylor Swift who gives Cyndi Lauper, Dolly Parton, Madonna, Lady Gaga vibes.
Wow.
I know.
Lady Gaga and Madonna and Dolly Parton.
I know.
Like, okay, Lady Gaga, Madonna. Okay.
I know.
But throw Dolly Parton in there.
I know. I just if you see her perform, I think you'll get it.
Okay. I'll have to look up a performance of hers or something.
In full drag, and her songs are like really like pop, but very female empowerment, very I don't know, she very much is who she is and doesn't care what you think. I'm a big fan of Chappell Roan right now. So I think she's going to be one of the headliners for this festival, because she is playing festivals right now, and I tried to get tickets to her show in Nashville and they sold out immediately, and then started reselling for $700. So I will not be going to see her in Nashville. I think another artist who would headline, we're going to go, this is going to sound odd. We're going to go with Pink. She's another one that tickets are really expensive. I've heard she's an amazing performer on stage, and I think she'd be a lot of fun to watch live.
I love her.
Yeah, I know, right?
I went through a Pink phase.
She's coming to Atlanta in November, but like tickets are like crazy expensive. So I'm on the fence about them. So we'll put her in my festival. Again, people, if any of my friends are listening to this, they are completely thrown off. They're thinking I'm going to say Dave Matthews Band and like bring back Huey Lewis. Dave
Matthews Band is a pretty good answer.
I know. I'm a big Dave Matthews Band fan. So I've seen them 17 times. So we're going to prioritize seeing people I haven't seen yet.
17 times?
That's nothing compared to what some people spend. Like,
how much money have you spent on the Dave Matthews Band?
A lot. But like it was like you go for like once a year. Like I would go see them once a year, and they've been around since the 90s, right? Yeah. So I've always been a big fan. I haven't seen their show. The last show I went to, I got on the front row. Their drummer Carter handed me one of his drumsticks afterwards. I know, and like he kept making eye contact with me. I know it was me. He was
trying to send messages.
Yeah, he saw me singing. And he just like point his drumstick at me and like smile. He's like the best thing ever. And I'm like, I'm going out on a high note. Also, the people around me were so young. They're like, "What college do you go to?" I'm like, "I'm a professor."
You're like, "Honey, I grade papers.
I'm too old to be here." So we're gonna leave them out. Okay, so we got Chappell Roan and we've got Pink. The other one's gonna be Brittany Howard. Okay. Brittany Howard was the lead singer of Alabama Shakes. She is from my hometown, Athens, Alabama. Grammy Award winner, and as a good friend of mine and I were just talking about, who's also from Athens, he's like, I'm along for the ride with her. Me too. She is so creative, so talented. My brother used to make her sandwiches at Quiznos. I mean, I'm a big Brittany Howard fan. She's an artist who's evolved over time too, and has just come into her own, and everything she does is magic to me. And I think a festival with Chappell Roan and Pink and Brittany Howard, man, it's going to be epic. I can give you everybody else who's going to be there too if we've got more time, but those are going to be my 3 headliners.
What does a self-care day look like for you? No work.
I've
no obligations. Husband and kid are gone. This is a you day.
This is a me day. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pack myself a lunch. And I'm going to head up to Red Top Mountain, and I am going to start my day with a trail run at Red Top Mountain. And then I'm going to eat one of my snacks that I brought. And then I'm going to drive over to go kayak at Red Top Mountain and bring the rest of my lunch. I'm going to spend the day out on the water kayaking. Probably going to hang out, maybe do a little bit of shallow water swimming near the shore. If I'm by myself, it's really not safe to swim open water by yourself.
Yeah.
But maybe if I'm by the shore and it's like a calm day, I could get a little bit of distance in. And that would pretty much be my day. Just be out on the water and out in nature and enjoy some activity, and maybe just sit and look at the water. I'm a water sign. I'm a Pisces. I love the water, love a beach, love being around water and nature. So yeah, if I'm here, like I have to have a self-care day here by myself, that's what I'm doing. Going up to the lake.
Amazing.
Do a trail run, do some kayaking, some paddleboarding, some swimming.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. What is a hill that you're willing to die on? It could be serious, or it can be something jovial that your friends are like, why do you think that? Yeah. And you're just like, I will think it until the day I do.
You know what? The Nalgene bottle. You can take this from my cold, dead hands. I will not get a Stanley. I have a Hydro Flask, but this is my emotional support water bottle. You will never convince me otherwise that a Nalgene bottle isn't the best water bottle option available to us as a society. And people who have moved away from it, quite honestly, I think are just chasing trends. I will die on that hill. Love my Nalgene. I've had that Nalgene bottle for like 15 years.
That very
that
one?
one. Yes. That one.
That's commitment.
I know. I wash it all the time, right? Like I regularly wash it. It's clean. But no, the water bottle trend, I can't.
It is kind of annoying.
I don't understand it. I just don't get it.
I kind of participate in it. I'm kind of trash, but it is weird. Why water bottles?
Right. I mean, and too, like they're expensive. They're
like
so
$60 for a damn water bottle.
God, no, you need a Nalgene. The Nalgene's not going to shatter. They make them that they will fit in your.
If they want to sponsor.
If they want to sponsor, you can come sponsor either of us.
Mainly her. She's the one that uses your product.
Either of us, like that Nalgene,
we'll take
man.
It. I'll advertise.
Yeah, it's just a superior. I've dropped it on the ground because I'm clumsy and it never shatters. Like it's not going to let me down. You know, it's cheap, affordable. I have like 3 Nalgenes in my pantry, and those are the only water bottles I really want.
I love that.
That's the hill I'll die on. Y'all can keep your I can now that I'm going, I think about some others too.
Like what else?
Y'all can keep Disney World. I have no interest in going to Disney World. There are so many other places on this planet that are worth seeing, I think, more than Disney World. And people think I'm so weird and like I'm an evil person because like I'm not a Disney fan. But like one of my best friends goes to Disney all the time. And she's like, I'm convinced. Like, let me plan you a trip. I'm like, I'm not ready yet, Lindsay. She's like, I know, but when you're ready.
This is going to sound so dumb and stereotypical, but it is magical. It is. But it's magically expensive as well. And if you're going to spend that much money, you should rather go somewhere else. But I mean, when you're there and you're seeing the ceremonies and you're seeing the things and the fireworks, you're like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
But it's not for everybody.
I appreciate you saying most people look at me like I'm a leper like that. And the Costco thing, like I don't have a Costco membership either. Like I think I'm an alien. Like I don't love Disney and I don't have a Costco membership. But like, am I really a mom in Marietta? I don't have a Stanley. Like
you don't have Costco.
How do I have friends?
I'm starting to wonder that. But it's
my house parties.
You got a friend in
my charcuterie trays. Yeah.
I don't want to force anything, but I absolutely want to come to one of these house parties.
Yeah, okay, I'll get you and your wife. Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Because now I just got to see it for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a big green egg. I smoke barbecue. We'll have you over for football season.
That'll work. Yep. What team are we supporting?
It doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't. I mean, I'm an Auburn Tiger, but I also went to the University of Kentucky.
War damn Eagle.
I know, right?
I'm just kidding. My wife's a Dogs fan, so I am too.
Great, cool.
By default.
Great. I just hope everybody has a good time and nobody gets hurt.
We love that.
Really don't care. There was a time in my life I was a rabid, belligerent Auburn fan because I was there and there's nothing else to do. But we've grown past that.
Here's a hill I'll die on. Yeah. And you went to Auburn, so you'll appreciate this, or you were at Auburn. Pick a damn mascot.
Yeah.
And stick with it. Is it an eagle or is it a tiger?
I can explain the story, but
I know the story. Every single person that has any affiliation with Auburn are just like, let me bring
there's a story. There's a story.
I don't need to hear the story. I've heard it 5 billion times, but pick a damn mascot. If you're hearing this, Auburn, pick a mascot. Is it the Tigers? You might as well just switch to the eagle.
Aubie's the mascot. There's a story. And I went to the University of North Alabama too. So like I have 3 schools and there's all kinds of legends and lore with each university has its own special thing.
What was Southern Poly's Tech's?
Hornets. The Green Hornets.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd never heard that.
Yeah. The Green Hornets.
Those main campus folks, they brainwashed us to think it was the...
I saw Scrappy walking around campus one day, and I love a mascot. I don't care who you are.
I do love mascots.
I'm like, Scrappy, come in. Yeah.
And you just know it's some dude in there that's like, leave me alone.
But
mascots are fun. I think mascots bring out the kid in you whenever you see one.
Exactly. How do you not get excited?
Because when... It's just a dude in a giant costume. And maybe that's why you like Disney, because there's just people in giant costumes
just
everywhere.
Walking around.
You're like, oh my God, that's Buzz Lightyear.
I know, right?
Like you're starstruck as if he's a real person. You're like, oh my God, it's Lilo and Stitch.
Well, I had kind of that experience at Legoland. We did go to Legoland, which is outside of Orlando.
I want to go.
And Legoland was just an ideal, perfect little world.
Was
it
it
was
good?
great. Yeah, it was great. And we met Emmett. And
From the
Lucy.
Lego movie?
Yeah. That was a big deal. That was exciting.
Wow.
So I kind of get it, but yeah, no,
wanna go to
I'll
Legoland.
give Disney a chance at some point. My son's going to end up in middle school band, and I'm going to have to chaperone the trip.
Yeah, you
right?
are.
So like that's how we're going to go to Disney. Does
your son love Legos?
Yeah. He
I
does.
am in a Lego phase right now.
Oh,
I
yeah?
love Legos. That's like my me day.
Yeah.
I'm doing a Lego
You're
set.
doing Legos?
It's so relaxing.
Oh, no, not for me.
It's like therapy.
The only thing I can do, I can sort the pieces for him.
By color or by type?
Color, size, type. Give me a category. I can sort them. That's all I can do with Legos.
Okay.
My brain is not mechanically inclined. So I support him in this. He builds some really cool things.
Yeah.
But I can't.
I love that.
Yeah.
What is your biggest fear?
Oh, that's a deep question.
The last few are a little deep. Last couple.
My biggest fear is that I stand in my own way and hold myself back the way that I have historically, and don't go for literally everything I know I want to go for in this life. That's my biggest fear, is that I just at some point continue to stand in my own way.
I can absolutely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
What does success look like to you?
I read this recently, and this resonated with me. Success to me means spending as little time as possible doing the things that you don't want to do. So I am successful to the extent that I am doing things that I love. Even in my work, it doesn't feel like work whenever I'm working with somebody or a client or on a project that's super interesting and exciting to me. I've been so fortunate to have most of my clients I'm under an NDA with, so I can't really say by name. I really want to talk about them because they're amazing. But I've been working with a client building, some workforce training programs out of the state somewhere else for the media industry, and like they're working with a minority population, and it's just been so fun and so cool and so exciting and new and innovative, and it's a ton of work and it doesn't feel like work. So to me, that's the success. I've got a client I love to work with in that space. And that's not the only client I love working with. It's just an example. So even when you're working, you're successful as long as you are minimizing the amount of time doing the things that you don't want to do.
I love that. That's amazing. And then lastly, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, LBD Communications is going to have a couple of employees, probably. I'm going to have streamlined my efforts and will be working in a really streamlined space with a whole bunch of clients who are all a lot of fun and interesting. I will still be here in Marietta, still be having house parties, and hopefully just continuing the life I've built for myself here.
And I'm going to add, so funny thing about these questions is they evolve over time.
Yeah.
So like I used to ask people if they believe in aliens.
Yeah.
And the answers are pretty boring. They're either absolutely or no.
Yeah.
Or they're absolutely or no. And after a while I was like, okay, this is getting redundant.
Yeah.
So I switch them and I pivot. Like the new car one, or the first car is a recent addition. And then the hill you die on is a recent addition.
That's a good one.
But then one I just thought of, and I might just only ask this to entrepreneurs, but what is a tool that you use to run your business that you cannot live without?
It's called Scrivener.
Scrivener.
It is an app, and I wrote my book in it. I write everything in it. I built classes in it when I was a faculty member. Scrivener is just a really well-designed, been around for a long time app that's designed for writers. And writing's a big part of what I do and a big part of my life. And it helps me keep my thoughts organized, and cannot live without Scrivener. Hope it never dies. Hope it never goes away.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah,
it looks really cool.
It's cool. You can pick, like if you're trying to get inspiration for a project, you can design an inspiration board. And to me, it's better than having like 15 Word docs in a folder on your computer. You've got all your drafts in progress right there. It automatically saves a backup. You're never going to lose anything. It's just phenomenal. It's a great app. My business plan is in Scrivener. I have my blog scaffolded out in Scrivener. I've got like 4 potential romance novels I want to write outlined in Scrivener. Like I use Scrivener all the time for everything.
We didn't even touch on the fact that you love to write.
Didn't even go into writing. Nope.
Wow. We'll just save that for next time.
Save that for next time. Next time you have somebody bail on you, I'll come back and talk about writing.
No, now I'm going to prioritize you. Because based on the conversations, and I love this, and about that whole board of directors thing, I don't think there's a limited amount of seats on that
Oh, no.
board of directors.
No.
And you might have just gotten elected.
Yay,
just because
awesome.
we share so many things in common,
Yeah,
and like so many of the things that you said today, like spoke to me. And I always leave these conversations and I call my wife in the car on the way home and I'm like, God, this is like doing conversations like this is the reason why I love doing it.
Yeah,
because like you coincidentally, maybe again, it's part of the whole like things happen when you're on the right path, but like coincidentally along this journey I've been on of like, you know, working my full-time job, balancing it with this, like trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, is like the guest I have that week will say something that I've been contemplating all week leading up to this point. And I'll walk away thinking like, holy shit, like she said the thing that I've been wondering about all week. And it's like, it's beautiful.
You're doing the work to bring the people into your life you need to hear from. Right. It's all the guys. Like you think you're doing it for your listeners and you think you're doing it for the podcast, but you're probably doing it for you. And that's your path. So yeah, just quit your full-time job and just start doing this full-time. You can do it.
Wow.
100% do it.
I love it. I love it a lot. So now I'll let you, I know you just kind of gave a little kind of background on the business, but now I'll let you just advertise the business, talk about it, say what you want to say, plug a website, plug socials, do whatever you want.
Awesome. Well, LBD Communications is open for new clients. We are currently booking for Q3 and Q4 and beyond as well. So if anybody's listening and wants to just talk about solutions, if you're having problems with communication in your workplace, call me. Let me know. I am really good at designing custom built programs based on whatever your needs are. And we focus on really highly interactive workshops and training programs that my past participants have said are super fun, super engaging, something they look forward to, something they learn from. Even when I talk about concepts that are in part of regular HR type workplace training programs, I bring a fresh approach and I can do workshops in a number of areas from anything I've talked about here, which has been real motivational, spiritual, kind of ephemeral. I can go that route, but also have a host of topics on how to improve your presentation skills and how to build your confidence when you speak in public and how do you manage and prevent miscommunication from happening, and how can you build an epic team, and what are the roles we play on a group or a team, and how can we work with that as a leader. We do group development, relationship building, all kinds of things that I find fascinating and fun to talk about, just all based in the world of communication. So if anybody wants a fresh approach to some trainings or wants to just talk about helping solve communication problems, call me, let me know.
Amazing. Yeah. So guys, I'll put that stuff. I'll put a link to her website, maybe her LinkedIn as well, or something.
Website and LinkedIn. I don't really do much with Instagram. Okay. But I'm on LinkedIn. Okay. So find my LinkedIn and my website.
And I'll throw the website in the description so you can easily access it. Thank you so much for doing this with
Logan.
me. This was so fun.
This was great. I appreciate it.
And just again, like having conversations with the right people and figuring out that we're all so similar.
Yeah.
And that you said so many things today that just made me like, it just makes the gears turn a little bit.
Good.
So I really appreciate it being like last minute and impromptu, but we didn't overthink it and we did it.
We didn't. It was all improv and look, it worked out great. It was nice to meet you.
And it was nice to meet you too. So guys, again, I'm going to throw her information in the description of the episode. Again, shout out to FireWorks for having us and providing a great place for her and I and many others to make right connections and build our businesses. Shout out to Good Days. Go to their website to find out where you can book them. Shout out to the Strong Side Fitness Group. Shout out to all of the little brand ambassadorships I do. Those links are in the description as well. So if you want some discounts on some cool products, you can look at those. You'll find a link as well to my company website, Hammerhead Creations, which is a small business marketing kind of assistance. If you need help with website design or logo or rebranding or social media or anything in between, podcasting, if you want to sponsor the podcast like these folks have, reach out and we can talk about what that looks like for you and your business as well. Thank you guys so much for listening today. We appreciate it so much, and have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.